fight, but you gotta let punches go. Last round. You can't wait until they get in. You miss it, bang, go right back. And don't take 30 seconds if you fall another punch. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody like me. I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dippy. There's no one like I'm from Airport. There's no one that can match me. My styles is backwards. My defense is impregnable. I kept telling you, no punch. He couldn't hit. He's swinging like a sissy. He's missing. Let me see you bump. I hadn't started dancing yet. What's the win with hurt? Original first round and Curtis gets hurt. Curtis got stunned. I go and stunned early in the round. Great first round. Incredible. Perhaps one of the best in Illinois history. Hey, that black guy, he hit. Bang, 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 bang. Fire. Down the Mongo.
What's going on, Boxing Public? It's me again, G.Alé Dampier, writer and reporter with RollCombatMedia.com. And we're coming off of a pretty decent weekend of boxing. I would say actually a fairly entertaining Saturday night. Had Sergey Kovalev, who avenged his loss against Ilder. Probably fucked up that first name again. Alvarez, scoring at least a unanimous decision. Won pretty decently. It looks like we might have seen a different type of Kovalev here. Still a lesser version of Kovalev, but still this one seems to maybe get the job done. So we'll talk a little bit more on that. Of course, some of the features under the, at least fighters under the card there, on the undercard there. Oscar Valdez, who scored a pretty impressive knockout. Also, Teofimo Lopez as well, who definitely scored an impressive knockout. Brutal, savage knockout. And we'll also be just briefly going over that as well. And of course, I'll be going over, as you probably can see in the comments, or at least the description for this video, I'll be also doing a little review of the heavyweight division as well, because it has been quite some time since we've, gotten to some depth on that, at least here at Hands of Fire. So let's jump into it. I think we should probably just get the Kovalev fight out of the way. Kovalev looked very impressive. It seems that he's pretty much picked up some boxing lessons from Buddy McGurk, who was his new trainer for this fight. A lot of people were giving him a lot of shit, really, for the excuses of the new trainer, including myself, because as you all know, if you joined us last week, I didn't pick him to win at all. I didn't think that Sergey Kovalev at this point could bring back any type of seriousness in him, at least in himself, to be at least a serious contender again. Now, while he, got the victory and avenged his loss, looked rather good. Alvarez, though, seemed to, I don't know, I guess maybe we were just like himself, maybe we're just expecting the same circumstance where he would just land that, that one shot that could buckle Kovalev. And actually, I mean, he was able to land that overhand right. Famously is what started the crumbling of Kovalev in the last fight earlier just last year, and he took it pretty well. A lot of the guys actually, or not a lot of guys, but the guys we were mentioning on the broadcast for the ESPN fight that was viewed at least here in the States, at least were stating that I believe his excuse was that he was overtrained, and Timothy Bradley actually kind of came to his defense and said that he, if anything, believed that. And if anything, Timothy Bradley, who's not a stranger, I'd say, to some excuses, some outright excuses, considering some of the things he was mentioning at his losses against Manny Pacquiao. But it turned out, it looks like to be fairly right. I mean, considering, when you're overtrained, you are, it's dehydrated, weakened, and they're obviously susceptible to being knocked out. at least with a decent puncher like Alvarez, and apparently, I mean, like I said, he landed the shot and took it quite well. So apparently that must be the case. So maybe he's not, and even Andre Ward himself had to eat a little bit of crow there, because even in the build-up, which is, I mean, what a way to really, I mean, just this whole circumstance of that whole dynamic, really. I mean, the guy who owns you, beat you twice, owns you really in the second time, and the whole narrative going into this fight is how this guy took your fucking soul. And how you're just not the same. You're not Crusher. I mean, your whole persona, the bully, Crusher Kovalev, is gone. And there he is to sit there and narrate and commentate, should I say, your redemption, really. And obviously, it wasn't a good look to get knocked out that first time around, and definitely made amends. So, and Andre Ward for his part, I'd say, for the X fighter role, which Roy Jones himself tends to falter at a lot with when ends up doing any type of analyzation of any other fighter. Didn't seem to gloat or anything at all really about the speaking about the fight. You know what I mean? He was able to still talk in detail about Kovalev and and other things without trying to bring himself too much into it, which I could at least appreciate from Andre Ward. I thought that was pretty classy on his part. But yeah, I mean, good on to Kovalev for honestly coming back. However, what I did note out of this fight, though, is of course he was able to win. Still rather competitive, I would say, in certain aspects. There was times where he was, at least Alvarez was, I mean, still able to land, but it's more or less, I feel like the issue with Alvarez was this: he just wouldn't let his fucking hands go. So that was more of his own downfall. But those Kovalev as well, giving him pretty different looks to keep his hands at homes too. So I guess more credit to him. And I guess the original point I was bringing to this, at least with this whole point of his performance, is that he's not. I mean, again, we talked about his performance of just boxing overall was well, but the Crusher was no longer there. It was definitely a different type of fighter that credit to Buddy McGurk being able to bring out in him. I kind of thought it was again, I can't help but laugh at the whole point here, because I mean, the whole switch of trainers. This would have been, I believe, what, the third time here, and it just seemed really just laughable. And I mean, here we are, with the egg on our face on it. So again, more credit to Kovalev, but does this Kovalev end up? Does this bring him back to what he was, though? I mean, I think that's a fair question. I don't think. I mean, I've seen a few takes as well on the fight, and while some are impressed at least with the fact that he was able to redeem himself and quite semi-dominant fashion, it still wasn't the Crusher. I mean the feared man, that dude of this light heavyweight division. And if anything, I feel like this version of Kovalev, I mean, before he seemed like just a forgotten fighter of the whole conversation in this division, to at least being competitive in it now. I can't say he's leading here. If anything, he's moved himself back up into at least the good rankings, at least to BoxRec. Well, I guess for their rankings, even though there is rather shoddy and rather recent too. They still have Gwozdek as their lead light heavyweight fighter, which I feel like that's kind of just consensus, really. Dmitry Bivol just below him. And that's really just because Kovalev just fought. So he's, I think, just based on their point system, that's pretty much how that works. But nonetheless, he's competitive, I feel like, at this point. So, yeah, good on you, Kovalev. you got me this time, but go ahead and just fight some of those top three guys, and we'll see exactly what Kovalev has to bring to the table for the division. Few of the fights that featured on the undercard here actually wasn't a too bad of a fight. This was featured on ESPN Plus. Took place in Texas, so that was kind of the caveat of the whole event. Unfortunately, Texas had to host the event, which they are just infamously known just to always have just shit moments, whether it's a referee, whether it's the judge, and the commission just overall is just a weak body entirely. And it's sickening every time that they even get awarded these fights sometimes. And so let's talk about Oscar Valdez, who came into the fight. He's being trained now off of Eddie Reynoso, who's famous known for training Canelo Alvarez and developing him the way he has throughout his entire career. Oscar Valdez, is action-packed offensive fighter. The one, gripe really with Oscar Valdez was the fact that he kind of just sells out a lot and does not give a fuck about defense. And and surprisingly enough, I would have never thought this really came into play, but it was Eddie Reynoso who came to at least came to the saving grace for Oscar Valdez and wanted to work on that dynamic. And considering how he's turned Canelo Alvarez, who naturally I feel like is just a better counter puncher, and even on his come up was a pocket puncher that entire time. Developed, I would say, and of course within the schooling that he got with Floyd Mayweather, I feel like if anything, he's picked up a few things just in that fight alone. That I feel like maybe even Eddie took within himself. I think it was so bad that even Canelo and Eddie both took so much out of that they took it with Canelo. So that was, in a sense, what was to help Oscar Valdez in this fight. So he comes out, and my apologies at least for not being able to. Last name isn't necessarily too hard. It's a Tomasoni. Yeah, so Carmine Tomasoni, 19-0. Obviously not fighting the greatest opposition, but a name nonetheless, and undefeated. So take it for what it is. Came in and for me to try to at least box well, but there was just such an evident difference in power and overall just confidence and energy, really. And was able to, and if anything, so as far as judging Oscar Valdez's performance in terms of defense, I don't necessarily think that I got enough to at least see that it got a great implementation. If anything, he was a lot more patient. And well, I guess considering Oscar Valdez and how often he does put his foot on the gas, I guess you can say the patience in itself is a sign of the defense maybe working out. Because again, there were just minor, just simple catches and parries, and it's not like Tomasoni was really giving him much to really defend on anyway. If anything, I felt like Valdez was kind of carrying him along. But once he finally did unleash, landed a ferocious fucking uppercut that just put Tomasoni right on his ass. And it was a fairly just overall great performance, really, from Oscar Valdez and complete, really. I might have wanted to maybe just see him get him a little bit out of there. I felt like kind of carried on a little bit longer than it should have. And to make things a little bit weirder, I'm not sure unless you're Carmine Tomasoni's girlfriend, at least in this time frame as this is all taking place. After he's knocked out in pretty devastating fashion, Valdez is, announced that he's the winner, gets his post-fight interview. Tomasoni gets the opportunity, gets his post-fight interview, and decided to propose to his girlfriend. And she said yes. And she's a keeper because she said yes after he just got knocked the fuck out. And that's like not even a crowning moment. I'm just fucking baffled that that's the opportunity that you want to give your your wife now at this point. I don't know, whatever. She's, look, like I said, she's a keeper if she's willing to, say yes after all the circumstances. Say, hey, look, your boxing career is shit, but you're a good guy. So that's a good love story. I think that's what that's what all of us want. And of course, also featured as well. And I feel like this is kind of, if anybody, the man that really stole the show here was Teofimo Lopez, 11-0, 10-0 at the time, now 11-0, scoring a vicious knockout of Diego Magdaleno, Jesse Magdaleno's older brother, I believe. Sure as shit can't be his younger brother, because if he looks old as shit, if he is, it's my mistake. But yes, the knockout again was just vicious. And again, credit to the Texas Commission and fucking shitty refereeing. Was pretty much, I felt like prolonged really around. The fight really should have been stopped the round before. What did this ended up getting stopped? I believe. What did this? Sorry, I could have sworn there it is, the 7th round. Sorry. So the 7th round, he gets the knockout. The 6th round, he's actually already out on his feet, and he's every fucking shot that's landing is moving. He's a bloody mess. His nose is gashed fucking open. His eyes are puffy. You can hardly see his eyes. And here, you want to know how bad it is. And I'm sure all of you have already seen this. It's been rolling all over ESPN, Instagram. I can't even escape the damn thing anymore. I mean, he's hit with the brutal upper. I mean, he's almost his body just levitates off the fucking punch. Vicious fucking right hook. 2 of them, actually. And it was almost like a fucking cartoon. That's how exaggerated it was. As he falls down, completely out. I mean, he's not unconscious. He was still able to lift his head up. I mean, but he's a bloody mess. He looks like he's walking out of a damn thriller, scary movie. And the ref actually started counting, which is unbelievable. Unfucking believable. And it wasn't until when he got to 3, he was realized, oh, this is fucking dumb. Serves no point. And the worst part about it, what makes it so sickening for me, and I have to let me speak to the public here, because this really upset me. It's not backdrop, by the way. What really upset me the most out of this was the fact that his corner gave him the false hope that he was still in the fight. As he was out on his feet in the 6th round, again, because this was pretty evident to everyone in the arena in the 6th round, he goes back to his corner. They're telling him, hey, look, you got to shake it off. You got to do this. You got to be tough. I mean, they're giving him tough guy talk, and he's literally having a concussion at that point. I mean, he's out on his feet. He wasn't coherent at all. And they're tough talking him in there. So the corners, they're no help. They're no saving grace. So there's that one line of defense. Magdaleno, his own self as a fighter, was never going to quit. So in his own self-interest, was never going to stop. You got this dickhead referee who's just flowing through it. And you got Teofimo Lopez, who don't give a fuck and is just ready to just not hit and just keeps coming and coming and is not looking to stop at any point in time. So you literally have this guy out here with no one looking out for him at all. And that's scary. I mean, if Teofimo Lopez was like a devastating, I mean, thank fucking God this guy hasn't done more Kovalev Kovalev fights back on the come up, because it would have been more than just one fighter that fucking died on Kovalev's hands. That's how bad it could have been. He had nobody looking out for him. So shame again on Texas. I don't know what it takes for you guys. I mean, it's now been over 10 years now, 12 years, maybe even longer than that. I mean, it is a ongoing shit snowball. It just keeps going and going. But they just, I mean, the Texas Commission should kiss the feet of all of their Mexican American fan bases, and anyone, any ticket holders, or anyone that even goes to those fights. They need to just fight fans in general. They need to kiss their ass, because there's no way they should still be able to host any events. Fucking Philadelphia here, we have great arenas and a great fight location. I mean, this tri-state area is fight infested. Get us some goddamn fights over here. I mean, we can take these major events if fucking Texas are going to ruin them. Shit, I would love to be able to go right to those fights. Yeah, I mean, that was extremely aggravating watching that. So, pardon the emotion there. No, fuck the emotion. You guys will be okay. You guys probably like that, if anything. So, and then one last thing I actually wanted to bring up during, well, at least what came out of the fight here, was the fight that actually had some pretty good, had a pretty good reward here, was Richard Comey versus Isa Chagniev. He scored a knockout early, and was within that fight, was able to get the, I believe that was for the IBF championship there, and with that fight would be in line to fight Vasily Lomachenko. Now, as of just today, the current headlines is that Comey now will be out for 6 to 8 weeks with a hand injury, and because of this, now he misses the Lomachenko fight. So and that's rough. So, and if let's say he misses Lomachenko fight, and they just get postponed, Lomachenko is going to be looking to fight someone else, but that's still a pretty big fish off the hook. But maybe, actually, maybe that might be a blessing in disguise. But now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder there's something fishy going on with that. Neither here nor there. Anyway. So that was pretty much at least what I'll at least mainly wanted to just go over for Saturday. And then just a brief review of the heavyweight division. We have not talked in quite some time about the heavyweight division. Funny enough, though, while we haven't talked in quite some time, not much has changed. Last time we talked, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder we're looking to fight each other, and we're looking to get that going at some point in time, really soon, within the year 2017, 2018. And you're now here in 2019, and it's almost still looking like we might not even get it to the even end of the year here. So that has created the somewhat of a vacuum, really, for a lot of other guys to come up in notoriety. Mainly, I feel like who's benefit from the Cold War here is Tyson Fury. Is I would say, actually, let me just say that's actually a runner-up. Tyson Fury is a runner-up and a beneficiary here of the Cold War. because he was able to get his nose right back in between the two, really. With what, 2, 3 really, I would say what, almost 2 warm-up fights, and was able to go right to the number 2 ranked heavyweight world champion, and actually did fucking good and won. In everyone's opinion except the judges. Weird. But anyway, that's now going to be looking to go for at least going for a rematch. So we can be at least seeing someone out of that being at least eliminating the top 3. And I think everyone felt like Tyson Fury, once he was able to do his comeback, and at least that was obviously something else that has taken place since he's last spoken, was Tyson Fury's emotional driven comeback, where he was able to drop a decent amount of weight, where he was, I believe, almost 400 pounds, and slimmed down to a lean, decent size, was able to box beautifully for at least, 11 and a half rounds. And just like that, put himself right back in the conversation. And not also to mention that fucking knocked out, that, or at least knocked down, that he came from as well. That pretty much everyone talks about. I mean, you talk about kind of replacing that mantle that Anthony Joshua had of his victory with Vladimir Klitschko. It's kind of now moved that now, and it's funny how boxing is like that. It's kind of just like a credit, you know. It's what you did for me lately, and a really good performance can actually hold you off for a whole year. So maybe that's what Anthony Joshua did. Anthony Joshua had the credit of Vladimir Klitschko's victory, or at least of his victory over Vladimir Klitschko, and had a decent credit with boxing fans for at least about a year and a half. Time's ticking now, buddy. Anthony Joshua is now going to fight Big Baby Miller, who I just kind of feel like is a little bit glorified here. He's fought his way into contention, at least to a number 6 world international world ranking here. But Anthony Joshua should be okay here. Not too well. If I'm Anthony Joshua, I'm not too really worried about Miller here. If anything, just work on the conditioning. Keep just applying the asset. If you're Anthony Joshua, there shouldn't be any type of plateau of your skill set. You should still be getting better and better. There shouldn't be any drop-offs. And if anything, there may be a little bit of a stagnation there. And Anthony Joshua's development, I think someone may want to look at. Possibly a new trainer. Who knows? That'll be another thing. But the main beneficiary of the Cold War has to be Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte, was, obviously ex Anthony Joshua KO victim. KO victim no more. He's now kind of creating a name of his own within the last few victories. Kind of just, I feel like, if anything, his journey has be, I would say, I feel like, if anything, his journey has kind of come back since the Lucas Brown. I feel like I might be getting that name wrong, but since his Brown fight, and again, he's, for me, and it's it's and anyone who knows, at least, or follows me with the boxing groups, is that I don't necessarily find Dillian Whyte really too impressive. But again, I guess the heavyweight division doesn't necessarily offers much in the skills department, but still, he's not even fundamentally like that great for me. He's so, literally within two to three fights, I feel like he's now put his name back into relevance. The Derek Chisora fight, sure as fuck helped immensely. That fight was surprisingly really fucking entertaining. That first go around, the rematch, was able to win in great fashion with the KO there, and now has put himself into a number 4 world ranking division. So he could have, he could have took the fate that most Anthony Joshua KO victims at at that time frame could have taken, but he's kind of risen, and good on him for that. I can't be mad at him for that. He fights like shit, but um, he's he's doing his thing. I can't be mad at him. And Luis Ortiz, who at least since last, have we talked since the last time that Deontay Wilder beat him? I can't say that we have. Who knows? If we haven't, that Luis Ortiz here. Sorry, Luis Ortiz came within just, I don't know, just seconds. Really, yeah, that's what I would say. Seconds, literally seconds away from knocking out Deontay Wilder, had him on his feet, and I would say maybe even the next punch that would have landed would have put him out. We'll be fighting Hammer, ranked number 13 from Germany. That fight will be coming up on March 2nd. But that's at least to be the more second-tiered, or I would say the second-tiered outer level of decent fights. I mean, that's the outer crest, I would say. So, I mean, if that's your thing, I'm not seeking anything threatening to come out of that fight. It's just a good way to eliminate some of the names in that top 10 box there. But other than that, I think that's a good review there of just where we are with the heavyweight division so far. I don't think Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fight at the end of the year. This was part of the reason why I took the break that I did. It's just because it got so tiring, and I don't like boxing politics. So that's one thing we won't necessarily do here. And if you're a fan of that stuff, the negotiation split here, 60-40, no, not going to do it here because it doesn't affect me or you. In reality, what the fighters make is none of my business, or you can say it's your business if you want, but I mean, you don't get any of it. So if I'm not getting any of the money, I don't need to really care or know or defend any other fighter's position just because of it. So sorry. Some people like that. That's more or less for banner on the boxing group. So it's whatever. Anyway, it's great to have you here again. We went a little bit longer than we typically do, but that's usually a benefit for you. So tune in next week. We're going to be reviewing Gervonta Davis will be fighting. Erickson Lubin will be coming back in the action fighting bum-ass Ishe Smith. And that should be good to see him knock the fuck out again. So I'll be looking forward to that. That'll be on Showtime, by the way, if you're in the United States. What was it? Is it Boxing? Box Nation, I think, if you're in UK. I think I might be right on that. Who knows? I'm just spitballing here. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.